Hello, my name is Marcello and I want to welcome you to the Source Audio Video Design Group's YouTube channel. On this channel we will discuss home audio and video, personal audio, home theater, home automation, and speak with some of the movers and shakers in the music and hi-fi industry. So please consider subscribing today to show your support and ring the bell icon to get notified of future live streams and videos. Today I will share my impressions of the Audio Research Corporation I50 integrated tube amplifier. This video will focus on the build quality, design, and some of my sound impressions about the I50 paired with my reference full-range Sonus faber Olypmica Nova Vs and several headphones. Stick around as this will be a longer video than usual. We have a special guest, Brandon from Audio Research Corporation, for a Q&A with me directly after my impressions on this video. I've had the I50 in the house for about a month now, living with it and using it every day. I created a first look video on our TSAV YouTube channel about the I50 a few days after receiving it, so buckle up and let's find out if I'm still as excited about the I50. The I50 integrated tube amplifier is the first product in an all-new series of products from Audio Research. It would be considered an entry-level product for them. However, the design, build quality, attention to detail, quality of sound, and features are far from entry-level. The I50 is 16.5 inches wide, 7.25 inches tall, and 13.5 inches deep, weighing 40 pounds. Each amplifier is handcrafted in Minnesota with the same level of care and quality that goes into all Audio Research products, including every I50 amplifier getting a listening test with the legendary Warren Gale before the product is shipped to its forever home. If you like choosing colors of your amplifier based on your style or room aesthetic, the I50 is your huckleberry.
I didn't think you had it in you. I'm your huckleberry.
The I50 is available in 6 colors: natural, as pictured in this video, which is a light gray color, red, black, gold, white, and blue. I will link to our TSAV website in the video description so you can check out all the colors. What is remarkable about the finish of the I50 is that it isn't just painted, but is finished with Cerakote, which is a highly durable, long-lasting finish. It is such a durable finish that many custom firearm makers use Cerakote to finish firearms due to its legendary durability. All the finishing is done in-house, a first for Audio Research. The design of the I50 is modular, which means that you can opt to have 2 audio modules installed with the I50, a phono stage and a digital analog converter based around one of the new AKM chips, which should be available sometime in 2022. I opted for the Phono Module in my I50 as I love the spin vinyl. The Phono Module provides 42 dB of gain for use with moving magnet and high output moving coil cartridges. When installed, the Phono Module replaces the single-ended 1 input, and pH will be displayed on the Lexi tubes in place of S1 when selected. The high current design of the I50 utilizes a push-pull configuration that uses hefty power transformers that are custom designed. The I50 provides 50 watts continuous from 20 Hz to 20 kHz per channel out of its 8 ohm or 4 ohm speaker taps. THD measures typically 1% per channel, below 0.1% at 1 watt. The 3 controls on the top panel of the I50 are for power, input selection, and volume control. Sporting 2 Lexi tubes which provide display info for input selection and volume, the I50 has a modern and high-quality functional feel that many tube amps in this price range don't have. The controls feel lightweight to turn but highly responsive. The unit has a short startup time and mutes the output automatically on startup. A quick push of the mute button on the excellent included metal remote or push of the volume knob on the I50 amplifier and the amplifier is ready to go. On the top plate of the amplifier, you will also find a 1/4-inch headphone output for personal listening. According to Audio Research, the headphone output is 67 ohms and has a small, discrete, bipolar transistor output stage. The I50 at the time of this video uses 2 match pairs of Softex 6550WE tubes for the amplification output stage that provide higher gain and a slight bump in the mid-range, along with 3 6922 electro-harmonics tubes for the input and driver stages. The included tubes have gone through a 48-hour burn-in process at Audio Research. Then they go into a custom-made tube tester to make sure they meet expectations. They are then put into match sets for the best reliability and easy replacement of a single tube if one goes bad. An optional tube cage will be available soon from Audio Research. I reached out to Audio Research as a few of you had questions about tube rolling with the I50. They let me know that different brands of 6922s or 6DJ8 types can be rolled for the small signal tubes. Other brands of 6550s could be used for the output stage as well. KT88s could also be used. However, in their experience, they don't sound as good with the I50. If different power output tubes are substituted, the amp will need to be rebiased to your local dealer. ARC amps tend to be optimized around particular tubes to avoid otherwise inevitable sonic compromises. Jana from Darko Audio produced a beautiful video on Darko's YouTube channel that goes into the entire build process from start to finish, including how seriously Audio Research takes their tubes for the i50. I highly recommend checking it out to see the level of care and attention to detail that goes into every single amplifier. I will link to the American-made Audio Research i50 video in the video description below. Great work, Jana and John. On the back side of the i50, you have the Phono input module, if you choose this optional upgrade, the single-ended inputs 2 and 3, with SE3 also being a pass-through. You have a set of balanced 3-pin XLR inputs. You then have the IEC power connector, speaker connectors 4 and 8 ohms, and the digital analog converter module area. Okay, let's talk about the i50 sound quality with both headphones and speakers. For this portion of the video, I want to tell you about my room a bit so you get an idea of the size, shape, and proper treatment of the room. My room is about 14 feet wide and about 21 feet deep, with my listening position set at about 9 feet from my speakers. I have several bass traps placed strategically throughout the room, and first reflection points and rear reflection points treated with a thick carpet placed directly in front of my listening position and speakers. With 50 watts per channel, the i50 gives me plenty of volume with my speakers, which I recently upgraded to the Sonus Faber Olypmica Nova Vs. I have already described how awesome the amp sounds paired with my old speakers in the first look video. Depending on the track, I generally listen between 15 to 35 clicks or around 60 to 85 dB on the volume control. So for larger rooms or for individuals who like to play their music very loud, you still should have some headroom depending on the efficiency of your speakers. As for the headphone tap on the top of the amplifier, in my experience, I recommend efficient to moderately efficient headphones that don't have significant power demands for the best audible performance. So I would rule out the Susvara, Abyss, and HE6, at least for my preferences and listening levels. Brave individuals who have harder to drive headphones could also look at purchasing an adapter and running directly off the back of the amp, but that isn't something I tried for this video. You must be very careful in order to not damage your headphones if you attempt this. According to Audio Research, there are no tubes in the headphone circuit, and the power will vary with headphone impedance. However, we're still waiting for an official answer from ARC on the exact power output in watts for the headphone amplifier. With all the headphones I listened to, I was between 25 to 35 on the Lexi tubes for volume. Except the head from Head Audio, I was around 40 for the volume, as the head are the least efficient. The amplifier goes up to 45, so I still had some headroom with all of the headphones I tried. Until we get an official answer on the power rating of the headphone amplifier, I will just let you know some brief sound impressions with several headphones. When headphones are connected, all outputs to speakers are muted even though the amplifier section of the i50 remains on when headphones are used. Starting first with the Odyssey LCD5, listening to Supertramp, the logical song. I very much enjoyed this combination even though it may not be quite as tight and defined as I've heard from other amplifiers. The i50 does help to relax the signature a bit of the LCD5, making them sound a bit less analytical with a touch of warmth in the mid-range. I would still say they sound neutral, but I hear much less upper mid-range bite when compared to the MHA200 and some other amps I have in the house. Next, I tried the Meze Elite with hybrid pads with the i50, and again, I enjoyed this combo. Compared to the MHA200, the i50 sounds more relaxed, allowing me to melt into my stressless chair while listening to Money for Nothing from Dire Straits. The exact opposite was the case with the MHA200, which sounds more dynamic and exciting, pushing me forward in my seat and causing me to tap my foot and nod my head. Both are very enjoyable, and as in all things in audio, this will come down to preference. Listening next to the headphone from Head Audio, the i50 needs to come up in volume to around about 40 on the display due to the more demanding head design. Again, the i50 presents a smooth, enjoyable listen with no noticeable issues with this track to my ears, listening to Melody Gardot's Morning Sun live in Paris. Listening to the same track with the MHA200 with Ampric's input tubes, the cymbals move forward in the mix, having more energy and definition. The drums have a bit more pop to them, making the MHA200 a bit more exciting, with the i50 sounding a bit more relaxed. Two different flavors with a head that sound very pleasing with this genre of music and artist. Melody's vocals sound beautiful on both of these amplifiers. Listening to Kitaro Orochi with the Focal Stellia, the i50 presents excellent detail and tone. The Stellia is a dynamic sounding headphone with a terrific punch, and the i50 displays this characteristic with the Stellia very well. The synths on this track sound excellent, along with the guitar and the entire Skywalker Symphony Orchestra. Listening to the MHA200 on this track and some of the wind instruments and synths have a brighter tone to them. Again, the MHA200 seems to have the more energetic upper mid-range with an overall more dynamic sound compared to the smoother and a touch warmer sound of the I50. Listening next to the Clear MG from Focal and Snarky Puppy Lingus, and right out the gate, the pairing sounds very dynamic, open, with plenty of weight in the bass regions. Cymbals have plenty of energy and definition. The electric guitar has good bite without sounding overdone or shrill. There is a good sense of speed from the drums and percussion instruments. Switching to the MHA200, and the trumpets come across a bit brighter sounding, as well as the MHA200 presents a bit more micro detail on this track, sounding more defined overall. Listening to the Sennheiser HD800s, A Place from Nils Fromm, the synths and effects are highly defined with a fantastic, well-defined soundstage and excellent imaging. The choir's vocals on this track sound so ethereal. The timbre of the viola and cello sound lovely. What is missing is bass. The I50's headphone amp isn't going to be warm enough in the bass regions, in my opinion, to help the HD800s with their anemic bass. What the I50 does do for the HD800s is complement their soundstage beautifully and smooths the upper mid-range and treble region a bit. Pairing the HD800s with the MHA200, and the soundstage sounds more holographic thanks to the tubes, while also presenting more energy in the upper mid-range. For those of you looking to warm up the sound signature of the HD800s significantly, neither amp will go the distance in that regard. However, both are very enjoyable. Okay, so let's get into how the I50 sounds with speakers, streaming high-res music through Roon, and spinning vinyl on my reference turntable, the Marantz TT15S1. While I thoroughly enjoyed the I50 with headphones and was initially most impressed with how good the soundstage sounds and how black the background is, the I50 is even more impressive when it comes to speakers. The I50 creates an exceptionally holographic, wide, tall, and deep soundstage paired with the Nova Vs. The center image is placed perfectly, imaging vocals, instruments, sound effects exceptionally well, living up to the high-definition sound audio research is famous for. Bass is exceptionally well controlled. Compared to my old reference speaker amplification and preamplification system, the I50's quality of bass is far superior, defining all the information in the lower and mid-bass regions with much more control and detail. This is almost hard to believe as I listen to some of my favorite music, considering my old reference system is Class A solid state, yet that old system doesn't sound like it presents the same level of current that the I50 possesses, which allows the full-range Nova Vs to perform far better. A pair of rail subs will do the trick for bass lovers looking to squeeze more juice out of the bass regions. Honestly though, they are not necessary for most music in my opinion with the I50 and Nova Vs. Primarily I enjoyed adding the stereo rail T9Xs into the mix with electronica and some pop or R&B from artists like The Weeknd. The I50 in the mid-range is highly detailed and open sounding without presenting too much upper mid-range energy with the Sonus fabers, creating such a pleasing listen. Vocals have beautiful timbre and decay. Melody Gardot is just mesmerizing with this pairing. Strings are spectacularly well defined, fast and natural sounding. Strings from the guitar have excellent timbre, and the overall tone of the pairing is accurate while never sounding bright or shrill. I am continuously impressed by this pairing, as on paper, Sonus Faber recommends a minimum of 60 watts per channel for the Nova Vs. The I50 being only 50 watts per channel is truly living up to the nickname the Little Powerhouse that Brandon from ARC gave it on our pre-recorded Q&A that will directly follow my impressions on this video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, show your support today and consider subscribing, as I have a powerful flagship integrated amplifier that is coming soon that I will make some sound comparisons to the I50. So stay tuned and don't forget to smash the like button for us, as it greatly helps the channel. We appreciate you. The treble of the I50 paired with the Novas is well extended, airy, spacious, and has just the right amount of shimmer and sparkle, and never sounds harsh or bright. Synths, cymbals, trumpets, saxophones, and violins sound spectacular and tonally accurate. As far as the level of punch or dynamic slam of the I50 with the Nova Vs, it doesn't possess an overly punchy sound, but it also is not underwhelming when it comes to slam. For more dynamic sounding music, I enjoy mixing in the Rel T9Xs and setting the crossover appropriately to give the overall sound a bit more mid-range punch. As far as the Phono Module of the I50, I'm delighted with the performance and synergy with my Marantz table. It adds a bit of warmth in the mid-range to my ears and avoids the digital sound that even a high-quality DAC provides, reminding me why I still love the spin vinyl. My daughter and I have been spinning vinyl together so much more frequently since getting the i50 in the house. Stay tuned for the Q&A with Brandon from ARC as he shares a bit of cool info about the Phono Module of the i50 and some new companion products coming in the i50 lineup. To conclude my impressions of the Audio Research i50 vacuum tube integrated amplifier, I feel it is a tremendous value at its asking price with superior sound, build quality, and attention to detail. Many other manufacturers are charging almost double the price for a similar quality amplifier that is handmade in the USA. Is it perfect? No, no product ever is. But if you are primarily a speaker user, it gets damn close for its asking price. Even though I think the headphone output sounds very good with excellent detail, superb soundstage accuracy, and an easygoing signature that is not fatiguing, I still would have liked to see tubes in the headphone circuit and more power to be more universally usable with harder to drive headphones. If you are primarily a headphone user and don't use speakers much, the i50 is still a speaker amplifier first and foremost, with a very good sounding headphone amplifier added for convenience and personal listening. I highly recommend you get out to your local audio research dealer to listen to the i50 to see if it's a good fit. I'm extremely excited to see what new entry-level products are coming from Audio Research. Don't go anywhere as we are about to hear more about the i50 and other new products coming from ARC with our Q&A video with Brandon right now. Here we go. Let's rock and roll. Hey,
All right.
Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate this. We're here today to talk about the incredible Audio Research i50 integrated amplifier. I've had it in the house now for just about a month, and I am very much so very fond of this amplifier. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, that's for sure. So thank you again so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
My pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So for our viewers at home and going to be watching this later on YouTube, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for ARC.
Sure. So my name is Brandon Lauer. I'm the Director of International Sales for Audio Research. I'm also the Director of Marketing, and I am part of the management team that helps run the company.
Awesome. Very cool. And so when you're not working, obviously you got a very busy schedule with all of those roles and responsibilities. What do you do for fun? What do you do to just let loose and have a good time?
Yeah, well, so I like to travel. So it's obviously part of my job, so I take advantage of that and ride motorcycle. So
very cool.
in the summertime, yeah, summertime's motorcycle weather, and I like to cook. I mean, yeah, it's, go for walks, all this sort of things, be outside. I love history. So got a pretty diverse variety of things that keep me busy.
I love it. What kind of motorcycle? Street bike, cruiser? What do you enjoy?
Yeah, I have a Ducati Street Fighter A4A.
Ooh, Ducati. I love it. Sweet. Those are awesome. Very cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
it's a fun toy.
Oh, yeah, I would say so, for sure. What do you have at home? Do you listen to music at home? I would imagine you must, working for such an amazing company. What kind of system do you have at home?
Yeah, of course. No, I that's the whole reason that I'm here. I love music. I have a real passion for music, as well as audio research. But at home, I've got a Ref 6 SE preamplifier, currently a 160S, reference 160S amplifier, and then I'm running that with a pair of Rockport speakers.
And so you love music. What are your favorite genres of music you like to listen to most?
Whew, well, there's a lot. I studied music. I play cello, so I listen to a lot of classical music, and I also studied electronic music, so I listen to a wide variety of electronica, everything from dance music to some really experimental stuff. The avant-garde and really experimental stuff is a lot of fun. But I'm a pretty open book to music. I listen to R&B, I listen to pop music. Even some country. Probably my least favorite genre would be blues. I'm just not a big blues fan, but love jazz, especially experimental jazz, stuff that's kind of progressive on the edge, different types of world music. So it's really anything. I think music's an amazing way to express and to communicate. And really, it's one of those, it's an intangible, but it brings people together, and it's a language that we all speak.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Do you remember your first hi-fi experience, like where you heard a hi-fi system for the very first time and it just created something special for you?
You know, I was thinking about that, and I have to say, for me, it was more transitional. I started when I was a teenager reading Stereophile and the Absolute Sound, and at that time it was more just sort of this amorphous, conceptual thing. You know, all these crazy, expensive, high-end electronic components, and I didn't have where I lived. I didn't have the opportunity to hear them so much as read about them, but that just that fundamental idea of reproducing music and making it sound more real was really captivating concept. Uh, that said, you know, there have been a number of experiences for me over my career in audio. So it's hard to pinpoint one. It's been an evolutionary process, but it's always been founded in that idea of making music sound more real.
I like it. Very cool. Let's get to the reason why we're here today. Let's talk a little bit about the I50.
Right.
How long did it take you guys to bring the I50 to life?
Well, I50's got a bit of a storied history. We could probably say it was originally conceived back in 2018, maybe even a little earlier in a very conceptual way. But let's say 2018. The very first time it was shown was in 2019 at the Munich show, the high-end show in Munich. And at that time, the I50, this was under the previous management, the I50 had actually been designed as an experiment outside of audio research. It wasn't even engineered within the company. And when it arrived to us, it was pretty apparent that it wasn't an audio research product. Right. And so there were some initial changes that were made to it back in that time, and it kind of languished for a little while until Trent bought the company in 2020, and we took control over all the projects. And at that point in time, we gave the I50 back to engineering and had them basically, I don't want to say completely redesign it, but pretty much that's what happened. They went through just about every aspect of the amplifier and reanalyzed it, and not only made it a better sounding product, but also a more reliable product, and just an overall better build.
Well, you guys have so much pride and you take so much care and detail to everything you build, so I would expect nothing less than you guys to go through and do your due diligence and make sure it's the best product it can be. So I love that. That's great. And what compromises, if any, did you guys have to make during the build? I mean, this is a fantastic product, and I believe it starts around $5,000, and it is considered by audio research entry level, but really the build quality is not entry level. The sound quality is far from entry level. So what compromises did you have to make in order to, make such an incredible amp at such a great price, really, and a great value?
There are few compromises insofar as the design and the build of the product. The compromises were really more in things, for example, like the tubes. So we use 6550s instead of KT150s. So in all of our reference amplifiers, we use the KT150. We really like the sound of that tube, but it's a lot more expensive than a 6550. Sure. Audio Research historically has built a lot of amplifiers with 6550s. It's a really robust vacuum tube. It's a great sounding tube, and we've had a lot of really, really successful amp designs. So we knew we could rely on the 6550, get the performance that we wanted, and also help drop the price down a little bit. There's some other design choices that were made. For example, it doesn't contain the auto bias circuit, and we can talk a little bit more about that later. Again, that was both a cost as well as just a form factor consideration. Sure. We couldn't fit all of that into that sized box, and keep it modular. But really, aside from that, the I50, we're really proud of the fact that it follows the exact same story as everything else at Audio Research. It's built entirely within our facility. It's entirely hand-built. It's hand-finished, matter of fact. It's the first product that we offer that's finished in-house. It is tested like everything else we do. It goes through the same quality assurance test. And like every single audio research product, it gets listened to before it leaves the factory by Warren, who's one of the sonic, or he is our sonic developer, and he works with our engineering department. There were few compromises that were made, but overall, not many. And it took a lot of work to build something and keep it at this price point, and also keep that story exactly the same as everything else we do.
I love it. Absolutely. And so as you talked about the tubes a little bit, which is kind of a great segue into my next question. Obviously, we got some crazy things happening in the world when it comes to the ability for both the consumer and manufacturers to obtain, tubes right now. Do you foresee any issues with price increases due to that, or maybe just the ability of getting tubes? And does Audio Research have any plans to make sure that you have, an ample supply of tubes for current and future products?
So we always maintain a reasonably large stock of vacuum tubes. We have to, because of the way we match our tubes and create sets for our amplifiers. So we forecast out pretty far and try to keep a reasonable stock. Obviously, the landscape's changing almost daily right now with the war in Ukraine. And initially, there were sanctions put on shipping vacuum tubes out of Russia. That has since changed. So we just received word recently that shipments of vacuum tubes will continue.
Yeah, I saw that.
But at the same time, we are active. We're looking at other options that are out there, and we're certainly, keeping our eyes and ears open. We've got a lot of contacts, and we know a lot of people, and of course, most of the tube manufacturers that are out there. And we buy a lot of vacuum tubes. So, I think the future looks pretty good. I can't make any guarantees, but we've done as much as we can to protect ourselves. We've got essentially mechanisms in place that should keep everything rolling pretty smoothly.
That's fantastic to hear. That's good news. You mentioned him a moment ago. You talked about Warren, and I just love the story of how he listens to everything, and he's got just an amazing set of ears, obviously. And what is Warren doing to maybe train the future generation of listeners? I mean, eventually, maybe one day he might want to retire, and does he have a couple of listeners that he's tutoring and mentoring to listen for certain things in songs, and so that way when he's ready to retire one day, if ever, I mean, he's got such a cool job, maybe I would never want to retire, but does he have somebody he's going to mentor along the way?
Yeah, maybe I should explain his job a little bit as well, just to help understand the answer to that question better.
Sure.
Warren is our sonic evaluator, and so what happens is, really everybody at Audio Research is a music fan. So, for example, our entire engineering department, there's not a single person in engineering that's not a real music listener, if not even a musician themselves. Our lead engineer, for example, is a musician. The whole concept of listening really starts at the inception of a product. And the engineering team already has great chops when it comes to good ears and good listening. What's unique about Warren is that Warren listens to every single product that we build, but he also coordinates with engineering to direct if we'll call it the house sound or the signature of your research.
Sure.
What's important for us is a consistency from entry level to the top products we build, so that they always sound like Audio Research. And in Warren's process, he not only listens to new products, but he also listens to all of the service products that come to Audio Research. We can fix just about everything we've ever built over the past 52 years. That means Warren has a perspective of 52 years of equipment and what that equipment sounds like. On top of it, Warren has a really good oral memory. He remembers what things sound like. So he's got this perspective that goes back 52 years, as well as what the engineering team's working on, and a directive and perspective for the future of the company. So that's ultimately his role. And to answer your question, yes, we've already hired somebody that's in the company that is working with Warren, is training with Warren to understand essentially the scope of that job. And because you're right, I mean, everybody's got their time, right? And Warren's gonna want to retire at some point as well.
Being a push-pull design, the I50, you guys were able to squeeze quite a bit of power out of this amplifier, 50 watts per channel, and it's a high current design. I have the Sonus Faber Olypmica Nova Vs in the house right now, which on paper, this amplifier falls just a touch under what Sonus Faber recommends, but it has ample power and great control of those speakers for, I mean, I listen about 9 or 10 feet away. When you guys were building this amplifier, what speakers did your engineering team and Warren listen to, to kind of, like you said, kind of build that house sound, or just to get reference and just the sound quality with, just different speakers?
Well, we've got a number of speakers at the factory that we use, as well as, of course, different listening partners that have their own systems. But predominantly in the factory, we use Wilson audio speakers. We use Magnaplanar or Magnapan speakers. We have a pair of Klipsch corner horns that we use because of their ultra high sensitivity. It allows you to hear into the noise floor really well, and those sorts of things. So those three products are probably the most common within the company. But of course, we all have our own speakers at home. Trent's got some Sonus Fabers. Like I said, I have some Rockports, and there are others across the company. And furthermore, the I50, prior to it going into production, we had some prototype units that we shipped around, took on the road. And I mean, I can't tell you how many different speaker brands I have run with the I50 with great success. It's a little powerhouse. I mean, despite its only 50 watt rating, it can really drive a lot of speakers to a comfortable level.
I like that. I'm gonna steal that, the little powerhouse, because it really is. That's a great nickname for it, because it really is a little powerhouse. I have some higher sensitivity speakers in my house as well, and the noise floor is non-existent. I mean, this is like a quiet amplifier, which allows the soundstage and that high definition sound that you guys are so famous for just to sound magnificent. So kudos to you guys. You guys did a fantastic job. The transformers for this unit, were these custom in-house transformers? I've listened to a lot of boutique amplifiers and just different amplifiers from, all over the world, really. And I haven't heard many tube amplifiers that are at this level, of noise floor, which is pretty much zero noise floor that I can hear, at least in my house. So is part of that the transformers? Is part of that a custom design of those transformers? And do you guys build those, or are those subbed out? How does that work?
Yeah, we don't build any transformers in-house at Audio Research. Our transformer designs, honestly, are pretty complex and would require an entire assembly line to build those within the factory. Additionally, transformers require usually an epoxy soak, which is what keeps them from buzzing or humming. And that has to be done under very specific environmental conditions. So all of our transformers are designed for us, by us. So we within our engineering team, and then we contract that out with partners.
Very cool.
To build. Yeah. As far as the low noise floor, that's certainly a part of it, but also it's inherent to the circuit design as well. That's been a real focus for Audio Research, is to create that ultra black background, even blacker than a lot of solid state gear, I would suggest.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I also love how you guys finish this in Cerakote. Do you foresee maybe in the future offering additional colors or special edition colors maybe down the road, possibly?
Well, we chose Cerakote because we wanted this, I mean, using lifestyle is maybe not the best word, but we wanted the I50 to have that slightly more lifestyle approach. And trying to maintain 6 colors with an outside partner is an inventory nightmare. So that's why we brought that process in-house. And to answer your question, it very well could happen. We started with 6 because we wanted to see the response from people, from consumers, and as well as our dealer and distributor partners. And it's been pretty favorable so far. Everybody's ordered at least multiple, multiple colors for display purposes, and sell-through is also showing the colors are popular. So it's a fun thing. And I think as long as, as long as there's that interest, yeah, we're going to, and I think it'll go beyond colors as well, because along with, we created what we call our finishing lab. So we not only do the Cerakote in-house, but all the artwork and the lettering on there is lasered in-house. We bought a big fancy laser machine to do all that. So that opens up a whole nother world of possibilities in terms of product customization and design. I've seen some pretty crazy things done with that laser on some parts too, just in experiments. So, I think the idea is to see, what's possible. We ask a question all the time at Audio Research: why not? Why shouldn't we try something? We should always be open to new ideas.
I believe you guys use that laser machine for even like the ghost meters we see in the background back there. Is that correct?
That is exactly correct. Yeah. So that ghost meter, the actual meter scale on there is lasered in-house.
I love the ghost meters. Those are so cool. Love them.
They're crazy. Yeah, we build them in-house too. It takes 2 hours to build 1 meter.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool to know, though. I mean, that just shows the amount of work and commitment that goes into it. So,
right.
So I was talking with one of your team members about the DAC module, the digital analog converter that you guys are going to be placing into the i50. It sounds like it's going to be an AKM chip. Do you know which AKM chip it's going to be, and will there be any wireless streaming? I did notice a small antenna on the back, I think either in the manual or on the website, or is that just for Bluetooth? Can you tell me a little bit more about what the DAC module will consist of?
Yeah, there's still some final details that are being figured out for the DAC, but it is an AKM chip. I don't know exactly which chip it is. We thought initially that we might have to change the chip because of the fire that occurred at the AKM factory a little over a year ago. Yep. That fortunately isn't the case, so we didn't have to completely redesign the circuit. But with the extra time that we've had, we have included some more functionality. So the initial design had standard decoding all the way up to 192.24, for example. We've now added MQA to that. Yeah, as far as what you're asking about with the wireless. So it's designed to work with Bluetooth.
Okay.
We're ultimately deciding at this point if it'll be a wireless product or if it will be hardwired, but we're also designing it to be a Roon endpoint. Won't be a full-on streamer, but it will be a Roon endpoint.
So now I'm going to have to get the DAC module just for the reason of Roon, and also to see how it sounds. I have a feeling based on AKM and the kind of the house sound of this, that's going to be actually a really nice match between the two. But I guess we'll wait and see when I can get my ears on the module itself and listen to it. Speaking of modules, I actually opted for the Phono Module because I love the spin vinyl. Is that module in-house, or is it something you get from a contractor, or is it used in any other products you currently use right now?
No, it's entirely ours, our design, built in-house, very built in-house as a matter of fact. So just like everything else, Audio Research doesn't really take off-the-shelf solutions, and that's not really how we work. So the phono stage that's in there is 100% ours.
Well, and to me, there's a great synergy in sound between the phono stage and the amplifier. They seem to really be working hand in hand to provide just a beautiful, tonally rich, detailed sound that is just excellent. So you guys, superb job again. Compliments to you guys and the team. So can we expect to see more products kind of in this line for Audio Research? I mean, this is kind of your first jump into something around this price point, not at that reference level. Do we think there might be anything added to this later down the road, or different products or versions of this, or what does the future hold?
Yeah, no, the simple answer is yes. That's a good question. This is the first product in a series, so we're calling it our 50 series. It is our entry-level series. And we're also currently working on a preamplifier and an amplifier, which will be out at some point this year. It'll be the same form factor, same price range, same design concept. And I can tell you that they're like the i50. They have a lot of sonic surprises. They're quite amazing devices.
Ah, I'm excited. Good stuff. Keep me
Yeah,
in the loop on that. I'm looking forward to that.
will do.
So a few of the members of the community brought this up. These were some of the questions that were asked either via YouTube or social media or one of the forums. And we kind of already talked about it a little bit, that the I50 is not, it's not user biasable. Part of that was because, trying to fit everything in here, you kind of mentioned that earlier. But also in speaking with one of your team members, it sounds like you can actually roll these front three smaller tubes, correct me if I'm wrong or if that information is incorrect, without having to have the unit rebiased. But if you were to change, like, obviously the power output tubes, then like to KT88 or a different brand, then it would need to be biased. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and why that design choice was made, and also what the process is to have this biased if need be, if somebody needs to replace a tube or wants to roll tubes?
Sure. Yeah. Again, and you clarified it pretty well. You can trade out the three front tubes, the small tubes, the 6922s for ECC 88s or 6DJ8s or something like that,
Yeah.
and experiment away and not have to worry about any biasing. The biasing really only affects the power output tubes. So you can put different brand 6550s in there. You can put KT88s in there, as you mentioned, but at that point you would rebias simply because every tube has a slightly different electrical characteristic. Now, the one exception is that if you look at the tubes in the I50 or any audio research product, there are two numbers that are written on the collar of the tubes. And in theory, if you replace the vacuum tubes with the exact same numbered tubes, meaning they fit a certain electrical specification that we measure at audio research, you shouldn't have to rebias it. The way you bias that amplifier is you would turn it over, you remove the bottom cover, and then there are meter points. You put your meter on, and you simply have an adjustment pot. So somebody that is at least somewhat familiar with electronics could potentially do it on their own. I don't recommend it.
Sure.
We prefer that a dealer does it for them. But the bigger reality and the bigger picture with the I50 is that the amplifier design is a pretty robust design. It's based on an amplifier that is really, really reliable, and there should be almost no problems, really. I mean, vacuum tubes are not a solid state device, so you can always have a vacuum tube go or something like that.
Sure.
But again, we are, in our listening and our prototyping, I mean, we've got an I50 that's pretty much been on for almost 2 years straight, and
Wow.
it just goes and goes. And so again, the tubes here are run, at a more reasonable rate so that they're not being overtaxed, and the whole circuit is kind of harmonized to really for reliability as well as the musicality. And we were talking about transformers earlier. One of the reasons that you can't roll KT120s or 150s, for example, into this amp is simply because those transformers are designed specifically for 6550s. They're not designed to handle the higher current demands of a different tube.
Sure.
And that was also a choice that was made based on keeping the price where it's at.
Right. Well, the 6550s are beautiful tubes, and actually this brand of tube is actually quite amazing sounding. I mean, a lot of times I listen to a lot of tube amplifiers, and there's times I'm like, yeah, I would probably like to roll tubes just to see. I haven't really had the urge to do that with the I50. And those people that are, you still can play a little bit with the front three tubes without having to worry, like you said. So you still have the options to play a little bit with rolling tubes, which is cool. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk a little bit about the headphone side of the I50, because we have a large headphone community. Obviously, the Source Audio Video Design Group sells a lot of headphones, and we have one of the largest showrooms to listen to 40 or 50 different pairs of headphones. So, obviously headphones is a huge, huge world in audio, especially for the people that can't have big speaker setups, in the house because maybe they live in an apartment or something like that. Is this an area for audio research that is becoming more important? Do you see the headphone consumer as a market you want to continue to focus on a little bit more as time goes on?
Well, we've certainly put headphone jacks on past products, And with the 50 series, we thought it was pretty imperative, again, because of its price point and to the points you just made. A lot of people do listen with headphones or both speakers and headphones. That said, the headphone section in the I50, despite the fact that it sounds really good, isn't a real complicated headphone amplifier. And, again, it's one of those things to basically fit the circuit and fit the price. It's a modest but good design. We're actually working on a more robust headphone design for the new preamplifier in the 50 series. So to answer that second part of your question, yes, we do take headphones seriously, and we're going to try to push that envelope even a little further. So we'll see what comes out in the we're calling it the P50 Preamplifier. So you'll have that, and there may be even some fun future products too.
Cool. I like that. That's awesome. So would you say it's still kind of more so a speaker amplifier first and foremost, with the availability to still enjoy personal audio through headphones as well, probably?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great summary. Yeah.
Okay, cool. On the headphone side of things, is the same level of care go into like the listening tests, or how many headphones are used, for the headphone side of the section, or is that still kind of, more of a new focus, so it's not quite the same process? What does that process look like just around the headphone side of things, and what headphones are tested, and is there certain tracks of music that you guys like to use?
So as far as listening, I think the first thing I should say is that everything gets listened to in audio research. So no matter what we're doing, what that part is, what that section of the product is, it always gets listened to. It's just that's kind of the rule. That's the house rule. That said, we have, again, just like speakers, we've got a number of different headphone sets at the factory that we use. I wouldn't say that we don't have any one reference set of headphones. We've got a number of brands available. We've got, I think, some AKGs and some Bayer, some Grados, Sennheisers, and I think there's some others. So again, there's a reasonable range of product that we can listen to the headphone amplifier with. So that's basically the approach that we take.
Okay, cool. And then as far as, does Warren have like a favorite, this would be cool actually, like what is Warren's like favorite listening playlist? That would be sweet to know. I mean, you may not have that answer right now, but if you don't, it would be cool to find out, just to, just hear what he listens to when he's listening to the different amplifiers.
Yeah, well, so that's kind of a funny question. And I know you asked if there's specific music that we listen to or favorite tracks. When you have a process like we do, especially like Warren does, where you listen every day and you're testing every product, and again, it's day in, day out. I don't care how much you love a track, how much you love a piece of music, you're gonna get sick of it, right?
Oh my gosh.
So there's actually there's one daily CD that Warren listens to all the time, and it's simply because he'll tell you himself, he's like, I don't want to ruin any more music. Right? So he's got one CD that he knows so intimately, and then a number of other sources, whether it's CD or vinyl, that he's using for testing products. But it's actually a very limited scope of recordings that are used for the actual evaluation process. So again, whether that's evaluation in prototyping and product development or the actual final listening, the quantity of music is actually very, very slim, or the choice of music is quite slim. However, of course, once the analysis is done, then we start throwing anything at it just to see what it can do. But he loves a lot of electronica, particularly like French electronica, classical music too. He listens to a lot of classical, and again, it's really a range. And that's kind of the fun thing, is everybody at the factory, because everybody's engaged in music and engaged in the listening process. Whether it's Warren or anybody in engineering or the front sales staff, it doesn't matter. They bring their own things to listen to and to the table, and it really gives us a wide spectrum into what an amplifier can do with just about any type of music that's out there.
I love one thing that you said, because all too often people don't take audio enthusiasts like us as serious when we say we listen to electronic music or electronica. It couldn't be further from the truth. There's so much detail and information and unique qualities in electronic music, and I just love the fact that you guys at Audio Research incorporate electronic music into your listening. So it just, as a fellow electronic music lover, it's music in my ears. So I love that. That's fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, no, every music's got value, you know, and
Yeah.
like you said at the beginning, it's all about expression and communication. So electronica is just as valid as anything else out there.
I agree 100%. So what does the current delivery timeline look on the I50? Obviously, this has been an immensely popular product ever since, you guys released it. What does it look like right now?
Well, we introduced it at the beginning of the year, and we have a lot of back orders right now. We're producing them as quickly as possible, but of course, our process isn't about speed. It's about quality. And so delivery times right now is, probably about an 8-week turn time, which quite frankly, in this COVID/post-COVID world, isn't an unusual time anymore.
It's pretty good, actually.
No, it's actually, no, it's not too bad. For everything else that Audio Research makes, we can actually deliver within a week. We planned ahead for the supply shortages that we're seeing. So we hope to eventually get the I50 into that category as well. But like I say, and as you mentioned, it's really so popular right now and proven that a lot of people want to hear it. And so we've got a little bit of a backlog we're going to have to work through first.
I mean, it's understandable when you have a popular product that's going to happen. Let's end with a fun one. What is your favorite concert or show that you've seen? It could be recent. It could be a long time ago. Do you have a favorite concert or show?
What genre of music?
Okay, let's start with electronica because we were talking about that, and
Okay.
then maybe like pop or rock.
Okay. Probably one of my favorite concerts I went to was, I'm trying to remember if it was 2018 or 2019. And there's a couple reasons it's favorite. So there's an electronic artist. His name is Tim Hecker out of Canada. He's from Vancouver. Fantastic musician. And I saw him once in Minneapolis. And I was in Europe. And I was in Berlin for 2 days, which happens to be one of my favorite cities. And serendipitously, Tim Hecker was playing in Berlin that evening at an amazing space. So I was able to catch him there. And that concert was pretty spectacular. I've got to say that's one of my all-time favorites.
Awesome.
On the pop rock side, oh boy, this goes back a long time. There's a band back in the 70s and 80s and 90s called the Cocteau Twins from Scotland. And I saw them live once. And their lead singer, Elizabeth Fraser, is an amazing vocalist. And to see her perform live was really, really stunning. So that was an incredible concert as well.
Very cool. Well, that about wraps it up from us. Do you have anything else you would like to talk about to the audience, or anything else you'd like to mention before we wrap up?
Not really. I mean, I think, the thing that we do at Audio Research is we really, really focus on music. And that might sound like a cliche or mundane thing to say, but so many electronics today, they tick off all the right boxes. You get detail and you get dynamics and, dark background and that sort of thing. And they have this collection of ideas, but they don't always make music. And we try to tick off all those boxes, but fundamentally, if a product isn't making music, then we're already kind of behind the game. And when you sit down in front of your stereo, you should forget that the stereo is there, and you should become a part of that listening experience, and you should be drawn into it. And that's really how we do things at Audio Research. And that's, again, through the process of building everything by hand, through our listening, our quality assurance process, just the way we do our tubes. Everything is to ensure that when somebody takes an Audio Research product home, it's not just a box, but it's something that's going to deliver real passion and real music.
I love it. That's perfect. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us.
My
You know,
pleasure.
I know you're so busy, and we really appreciate you coming down to TSAV and sitting in one of the showrooms and streaming with me and recording this. I can't thank you enough. Really appreciate it.
For sure. And they've got the I50 here, so be sure to come by and take a listen to it, as well as a number of other products that we build.
Absolutely. Awesome. Until next time, thank you again, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
We hope you enjoyed this video presentation of my experiences with the Audio Research I50 integrated amplifier, and the information we shared helps you to determine if it might be a good fit for you. A big thanks to Brandon from ARC for joining us and answering several of our questions about the I50. If you're in the greater Los Angeles region or just looking to make a trip to hear the Audio Research I50, the Source Audio Video Design Group's 10,000 square foot showroom, headphone bar have one of the biggest, largest selections of speakers, amplifiers, and audio enthusiast headphones to listen to in the country. In the description below, I will link to TSAV's website and more info on the ARC I50 and other audio gear discussed during this video. What do you think of the new entry-level I50 integrated tube amplifier? Let us know in the comments below, and show your support today by smashing the like button for us and subscribing for more new upcoming content. Until next time, friends, always remember, let the music be your guide.